Here now, the new chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman and U.S. Army veteran Brian Mast of Florida. Mr. Chairman, thanks so much and congratulations on your new position. Help us understand how the U.S. taking over Gaza is going to work.
There are no details yet on what this could exactly look like, and the point is that all options are on the table. That is the point. All options are on the table. Look at the world from a different vantage point instead of where everybody has always been looking. Look for new solutions instead of just saying, this is what's been, this is the way it's always been done, and so we're just going to continue down that path.
Does this mean sending U.S. troops to occupy Gaza and rebuild it? Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said this afternoon, quote, "We're prepared to look at all options," unquote. Would you be comfortable with that if that's what President Trump says is needed?
I think, again, you take what he said, all options are always on the table for an important reason. Let me not just say that in ambiguity, because that leaves every foreign intelligence agency guessing what's going to happen, which is good for America's national security. Personally, do I want to see American troops on the ground under any circumstance other than the fact that there are still Americans being held and there's an American coming to get them? Aside from that being the situation, I don't want to see troops on the ground personally.
So your Democratic counterpart on the committee, Congressman Gregory Meeks, says it doesn't make the United States safer for this idea to be out there because it actually puts a target on Americans if individuals think that the U.S. is planning on ridding Gaza of Palestinians and taking it over. What's your response to that?
I think it begs a very important question about what is the Gaza that we are dealing with. Are we dealing with a Gaza that's totally rid of Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Lion's Den, Fatah, other terrorist organizations, and dealing with a group of people that are willing to accept that there will be an independent and Jewish state, that they're willing to say they're done with kidnappings, bombings, bus bombings, cafe bombings, terrorism, you name it, that's been conducted year after year, decade after decade. Are they done with that, and are they willing to have this unconditional surrender? Are you dealing with that kind of Gaza and people that are just what are always said, innocent civilians that want to go out there and live in peace, that have been dislocated because of the war that has been going on and are now showing up back to neighborhoods that they haven't been in for a while, but because of the infestation of terrorists are nothing more than rubble right now, so they really don't have a choice but to relocate? Those are important circumstances for anybody to recognize.
So it sounds like you're saying this is almost like a negotiating position. President Trump puts this out there. Maybe I'm reading into it, and if so, I apologize. President Trump puts this out there. You talk about how Gaza could be if all those terrorist groups are no longer there and if the Palestinian people in Gaza were willing to live next door to a Jewish state in peace and cooperation. Is that a constructive way for me to look at this and for viewers and voters out there to think of this?
I think it's the important way to look at it, because in absence of that being the state of Gaza, there is not an American partner there in any way, shape, or form.
So you kind of alluded to this earlier when you talked about your preference for U.S. troops for there not to be boots on the ground. But how many people who voted for Donald Trump do you think thought, I'm voting this way, and when I vote this way, it's possible that troops are going to be sent to Gaza, or quite the opposite, I'm voting for Donald Trump because he's not going to get us involved in foreign wars?
I think you, no matter what, see that commitment and that promise executed from President Trump. There are always negotiating positions, and there's always ambiguity, again, for the purposes of national security. But what you can count on with President Trump, first of all, first and foremost, he will always put America first, America's national security first. If it doesn't meet that bar, it's not going to be an action that's executed.
So you served honorably in Afghanistan, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on a second subject, on USAID. Trump seems to be shutting down USAID. As you know, it's in the Ronald Reagan building. President Reagan spoke a lot about the need for there to be soft power out there, and foreign aid is very important. Do you think removing critical foreign aid that stabilizes countries and builds goodwill will make the U.S. more safe? I understand that there might be problems with individual USAID programs, and maybe you don't have a problem with Marco Rubio taking over it. But the general idea of foreign aid, do you think that makes us safer?
What you have going on, and you're not going to find very many that are more critical of USAID than myself, is an agency that was out there spending $15 million to give condoms to the Taliban. That's a real thing. Or $500,000 to teach Indonesian coffee makers on how to be more gender friendly. And what I'm just giving you a couple examples to say this wasn't the exception, this was the rule of what was going on. And if you want things to still move forward in terms of aid, you can have a more streamlined system that's more accountable, better command and control by having that fall directly under Secretary Rubio right now, instead of the individuals that were in there since January 20, literally hiding things, burning documents, and making sure that they had every availability to lie to Congress and everybody else about the programs that they were actually doing, because that's what they did to me for the last 2 years as Foreign Affairs Oversight Chairman. That comes to an end. If those things weren't being conducted, you might have a different looking USAID today, but because that was taking place, this was the only option in how to right that ship.
Can you send me the background and backup information for this $50 million in condoms to the Taliban? Because I've
15,
never...
yes, 100%.
15.
$15 million to the Taliban for condoms and contraceptives, 100%. Happy
Send
to
it to
get
me,
that to you.
and I'll post it on...
There's another $3 million to go to the Caribbean just for being, quote, LGBTQ. I could give you pages and pages of lists if you want to see it.
Do it. I'll text you right at the commercial break.
We put it in a video so you can see it in video. I replied to all my Democrat colleagues that were out there saying these were Republican lies to say, here's about a 5-minute video of a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on. You can reference that too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the documentation. I'm not saying it's true or false. I don't know, but I'd love to see it.
I'm telling you it's true.
Okay, the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Congressman Brian Mast, Florida, a veteran. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, sir. Hope you'll come on a lot and talk to us about foreign affairs. Appreciate it.
Take care.